Velkommen til Over Stregen, en podcast om motorsport med Casper Elgaard, Jens Winther og mig, Jacob Hammerholt. Tilbage i min stue, i en ganske særlig anledning. Ja. Interview med Josef Newgarden.
Det er så stort.
Men hvad sker der?
Ja. Jamen, Over Stregen podcasten kommer vidt omkring.
Det gør vi.
Nu er vi også kommet til USA.
Ej, det er for cool. Altså, jeg var starstruck allerede, da vi nævnte, muligheden var der.
Ja.
Det er vildt.
Selveste Josef Newgarden. Altså en stor stjerne. Ja. I USA-sammenhæng, Jens, kan du prøve at illustrere, hvor stor er I Josef Newgarden?
Jamen, jeg tror jo, Josef Newgarden er jo Verstappen, eller Alonso, eller Hamilton i USA. Ja. Han kører IndyCar. Han er den første i 22 år, der har vundet Indy 500 back-to-back, altså 2 gange i træk. Har drukket mælken op på sejrskammen. Altså, det er så meget prestige og så meget harumf i at være IndyCar-stjerne, så jeg tror, at der er langt flere amerikanere, der kender ham end Verstappen.
Ja, altså, og hvis man er lidt i tvivl her som dansker, ikke lige ved 100% hvem han er, så prøv at gå ind på YouTube og så søg Newgarden, Fox TV, IndyCar. Ja. Den reklame, de har lavet til optag til den her sæson, hvor Fox kommer ind og dækker IndyCar i år. Den er genial, den reklame. Den er så fed. Den er så godt lavet. Den er med fede billeder og humor og det hele.
Lige noget for dig, Casper, fordi...
Jamen, lige noget for mig.
Josef Newgarden er jo den person, som af en eller anden underlig årsag dukket op i vores podcast, som en mand, du havde man-crush på.
Ja, det var ikke planen, at jeg ville offentliggøre det her i podcasten. Nej, men det kom jeg jo til af min begejstring for hans udseende.
Kæbelinje.
Ja, præcis. Og at vi nu sidder her og skal snakke med ham lige om lidt, det er jo fantastisk.
Ja. Og bare lige for at sætte scenen, det er en special i dag. Der er ikke nogen nyheder, der er ikke nogen overhaling. Det bliver ren og skær hygge med Josef Newgarden. Men, det lyder bare helt skørt, når man siger det.
Ja, det er for fedt. Altså, jeg synes simpelthen, det er for vildt. 3 bonderøve i en kamelvogn, og så Josef Newgarden. Altså.
Ja, det er skørt.
Vi kan lige så godt spørge, om ikke Lady Gaga kan komme og underholde til vores julefrokost.
Det kunne man da sagtens. Jeg føler i hvert fald, det er der, vi er.
Det er der, vi er.
Ja. Hvem har nummeret til hende egentlig?
Ja, det finder vi. Fordi vi fandt jo nummeret.
Okay,
Newgarden har det i hvert fald.
Nu er det sagt.
Fordi at,
nu er det sagt.
Vi skyder efter de store, ikke?
Jo, jeg tænker bare, hvor vi kan lave danskål i campingvognen. Det bliver svært.
Ja, det finder vi ud af.
Hvis hun kommer, så laver vi plads. Og så det bliver med en motorsav.
Ja, vi kan jo lægge bordet ned, der hvor vi plejer at sætte. Så bliver det scenen.
Ja.
Og så kan vi danse der mellem køkken og...
Det bliver pissehyggeligt.
Ja. Der kan godt ske, at vi står bag ved hinanden, og ikke ved siden af hinanden. Men
så,
det må vi leve med.
Så er det mere line dance.
Der bliver fyldt op i campingvognen.
Det kræver lige lidt hjælp at få nummeret til Lady Gaga, tror jeg, fordi vi skal lige huske at takke Bente og Christoffer, som har skrevet til os på Instagram og spurgt, om de ikke skulle hjælpe os med at etablere en kontakt til Josef Newgarden.
Vi er den evigt taknemmelige.
Evigt taknemmelige.
Er det meget? Virkelig meget.
Ja, Bente er bedste veninde med Josef Newgardens mor og gudmor til Josef Newgarden. Og Christoffer er hendes søn, som så har en kontakt til ham og skriver lige frem og tilbage. Hey Jacob, jeg har lige talt med ham. Skal vi ikke lige sætte noget i stand? Jo.
Lad mig lige tænke.
Vil du have en lottogevinst? Ja, tak.
Så tak til Bente og Christoffer, og tak til K-Rejser for at støtte vores podcast økonomisk. K-Rejser laver jo ikke rejser til IndyCar. Men hvis vi skal over til Josef Newgarden... Præcis. Fordi det skal det jo næsten gøre, for hvis vi skal over til Josef Newgarden, det kunne bare være fedt at kombinere dem med K-Rejser.
Hvem skal være guider?
Jeps.
Vi kan alle 3.
Ja, jeg kan godt den dag. Ja.
Det er dermed skudt ud til K-Rejser, at vi skal lave noget der.
Ja, lad os få lavet sådan en tur.
Ja. Nå, jeg tror, tiden er ved at være inde. Vi skal ringe til manden, der gør Casper blød i knæene. Kan du gætte det, Casper?
Ja, helt vildt. Ja. Jeg har sat håret det hele i dag. Jeg er så spændt.
Vandkæmmet.
Det bliver skide godt. Josef Newgarden, welcome to our podcast. It's an honor to have you here with us today. Thank you for taking the time.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's great I can see you guys. I know we're on a podcast. You look amazing. You got a nice little studio set up, and it's an honor for me to be on. So thank you for having me.
First of all, we're doing this in English at the moment. Would it be possible to do this in Danish, considering your Danish heritage?
I wish. This is my fault. I need to brush up on my Danish significantly. It's so it is so poor right now. And I was just in Denmark. Probably where were we? 6 months ago. We were in Denmark, and my young son was with me, and I want him to learn Danish so badly right now. We're actually going to probably put him through some Danish courses. just so he knows his heritage. Because half my family is still in Denmark, and I should speak Danish fluently, and I don't. So all the other Danes in my series make fun of me every time I see them.
Christian and Christian.
Yes, the two Christians. They give me a hard time.
We've known them since they were young. You can beat them, just slap them.
They make fun of me, and then I just try and beat them on the track. That's my revenge.
That's it.
That's the way to go.
But your connection to Denmark, how can you explain for our listeners, what is your connection to Denmark?
Yeah, it's a very deep connection. So my mother is fully Danish, and so my mother's side still lives in Denmark. A lot of my friends and family, even friends in Denmark, they feel like family. You know, Christopher. I know you know Christopher Rasmussen. His family is very close to my mom, and they're basically family to us. I mean, you know, they're not blood family, but they feel like they are. They feel like cousins to me in a lot of ways. So I used to grow up going to Denmark and visiting my mother's side. My dad's American. So my mom came to America when she was about 18 and met my dad and ended up staying in America and started a life over there. I have two sisters, but I'm very much Danish as well. So I give my mom a hard time too, because she didn't stick to the Danish teachings when we were younger. And because if I would have learned Danish fully when I was a kid, I'd remember it by heart growing up. So I only know the little things. I know a few words, but all the little celebrations, the Christmas traditions, we very much had like a Danish heritage in our household, even in America. So I take a lot of pride, that I have the connection to Denmark. And that's why I was telling you, even with my son, I want to make sure that, it stays alive for the future. I want him to be even better than I was. I want him to know Danish very well. And he can see his farmor and morfar and go to Denmark and have a good time.
Well, you're Danish enough for us. Well, we keep bragging that you're half Danish, almost all Danish when we brag about you. So.
I appreciate it. I try and tell people, the other Christians, they give me a hard time.
How do they give you a hard time? Do they say mean things, or do we need to say something to them when we get them on the podcast? Or?
Well, it doesn't take much. I just I start off and I'm like, but then how today? And then they just start going with a bunch of words, and they know that I'm not fluent. So then I can't keep up with it. So it doesn't take much for them to make fun of me. But then they were also giving me a hard time because my mother, she's from the Southern Island, basically. So down in Lolland. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, you're not part of the real Denmark, is what they'll say. They'll say things like that.
That's mean.
So now when you get them on the podcast, you gotta get them back for me.
That's not a problem.
We will.
We'll give them a hard time. We have already thanked Bente and Christopher for helping us setting up this contact with you. So just to let you know, we're very grateful for their participation or help in this matter, and we are very grateful for you stepping up and being on a Danish podcast.
Well, like I said, it's an honor for me. I love my Danish heritage. Love my family over there. Benda, everybody, Karsten, Christopher. They're the whole family. They are family to us. Benda and my mom Tina, they grew up together since they were little girls, and so we feel like family together and hang out. We used to hang out every summer, like I said, when we would come out to Denmark. It was almost every year or every other year that we would come over to Denmark. So anyone that's connected to it, and especially you guys, it's a big privilege for me. So you don't have to tell me that.
And now you're a big superstar in IndyCar, and you're the new poster boy in the new commercial for Fox TV. How do you feel about the new commercial? Because we've been seeing it a lot here in Denmark as well, and it's pretty amazing.
Really, they play it in Denmark?
No, they don't play it in Denmark, but we in the motorboards Facebook groups and Instagram groups and so on. Yeah, it's very widely spread, and people think it's great. What do you think about the commercial?
That's good. I'm glad the feedback's good. I think it's a positive direction. I think Fox will do a fantastic job for IndyCar. I really do. We've been waiting to have a partner like Fox for many years now. The sad thing is that IndyCar, we're not hoping and wishing that it becomes this big thing that it's never been before. IndyCar used to rival Formula One back in the 80s, the early 90s, and it was, I'm talking, high level hitters like, Ayrton Senna even, maybe he used it as publicity or a bargaining tool, but he even had a test with my team Penske. Nigel Mansell obviously came over and had a lot of success from Formula One to IndyCar. But my point is that IndyCar used to be very prominent global series, and it was the competitor to Formula One, and I still think it is. I think in a lot of ways it is a driver's championship. It's an extremely competitive form of open wheel racing, and so having a TV partner like Fox, I think will grow the sport again to what it used to be. And so everybody in the sport deserves it. There's a lot of work that's been put in. There's a lot of great drivers that are a part of the sport that should be recognized for what they're doing in the racing world. So I'm really, really excited. I think Fox gets IndyCar. They get what IndyCar should be and how it should be portrayed to people.
In our podcast, we often talk about the IndyCar. Every IndyCar race we discuss afterwards and tell, of course, how it went with the two Christians, and of course you as half Danish. If you should try and convince our listeners to start following IndyCar, what would you say? Why should people follow IndyCar?
Well, the first thing I'd say is if you like motorsports, you typically like everything. I think deep down, that's how I was. When I grew up racing, I liked everything, whether it was sports car or it was Formula One or IndyCar or NASCAR. I don't try and pull people away from other forms of motorsport. But I think if you like really competitive racing, whether it's, watching, European Le Mans or it's Formula One, I think for sure you will love the product of IndyCar racing. It's very competitive. There's great stories. But I think the competition is the main thing. It's so close, the competition in IndyCar, compared to almost anything else on the planet right now. Even just comparing it to Formula One, Formula One is fantastic. I love it. It's very technically innovative, but it's very much a manufacturer's championship. You're watching the developers of these chassis and how they build a car and who builds the best car. And of course, the driver is a component to that. But I think the manufacturer part is bigger than the driver. In IndyCar, it is much more about the driver. So there are technical differences between the cars and the teams. There's different engine manufacturers, but it's much closer the technical side than Formula One. So it comes down then to the driver and how much the driver extracts from the car, how well the driver sets the car up with his team, and how well the driver executes on race day. So I consider IndyCar very much a driver's championship. And if that's compelling to you in motorsport, then I think you will like IndyCar.
I think all of us three here has been big fans of IndyCar for many, many years, and all of us can remember Emerson Fittipaldi and Nigel Mansell and the racing back then.
Montoya.
Yeah, but and I mean, in our podcast, we really try to sell IndyCar really as much as possible, because I think if you love racing, wheel-to-wheel racing, it's IndyCar that you have to see. It's just amazing racing, and we love it. But yeah, and obviously with the two Christians, there's a lot more focus on IndyCar now. But yeah, for us, I think racing IndyCar, the races there is just huge. And just to let you know, like you can see this, we have this huge trophy here because we won the best car podcast in Denmark. This one and this one, the only two things that always travel with us when we use podcasts, and that's you and the trophy.
The diecast is always with you guys too.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That is so. Oh my gosh! All right, that's already my revenge right there for the two Christians.
Exactly.
They don't have a little car.
They haven't won the IndyCar Championship or the Indy 500, so that's why. Maybe someday they'll be next to you if they win that one.
I love it. I love it. Well, to your point though, you have great Danish talent, which is an IndyCar. So even if you just want that personal connection, the two Christians that we have in the sport are some of the best. I mean, I think. I really think Lundgaard he's excellent. He's going to have a great seat underneath him now, moving to McLaren. McLaren's a pretty prestigious global name. So it's very exciting to watch his progress. And then, with Rasmussen, I think he's got a great career ahead of him. He's very, very strong. So it's exciting, and I think there's even more that can be coming from Denmark to give a go at IndyCar. There's more Danes than most other countries in IndyCar right now, which is really
nice.
cool.
Yes. That's nice.
An IndyCar, what is it like to drive? What is special about an IndyCar, and how do you drive it fast? You know how to do that.
Well, my favorite thing about an IndyCar is how mechanical it is. It's, of course, they have advanced, the technology gets better every year, but they are still so pure. When you think about old school racing from, I keep saying the 80s or the 90s, but just very, I don't want to say simple, but organic, raw race cars. That is an IndyCar is still that. It's amazing. Even my teammate on the Porsche Penske side, Felipe Nasr, and he's a great driver. I got to compete with him at the Daytona 24. And recently he did a test in the IndyCar, just helping us out to get us some information. And we were able to utilize him for a free test day. And he thought, wow, just coming from the Porsche, like the IndyCar is so raw and mechanical. It's so nice to drive. A lot of these cars nowadays, they're becoming so electronically controlled, and there's so much happening, especially with the hybridization, that you lose sort of the essence of what a pure, powerful race car feels like. And an IndyCar is just very raw. It's very, very raw. It's amazing to drive. It's just the feeling of it. You feel connected to the road when you're in the thing. Every little input that you make, you understand, and it makes sense to you. And so that's what I mean by mechanical. It's just very easy to understand how to drive the car. And I think you see that when you go to an IndyCar race, especially if you go to the Indianapolis 500 or you go to a street course race, you can see how how impressive the machines are, and just how much the drivers are working. Even from the outside, you can see them wrestling the car. It's not easy to drive. There's a lot of kickback, and you see the steering moving all over the place. So that's what I grew up loving when I was watching race cars, was that physicality and the difficulty of it, and feeling like the drivers were gladiators and what they were doing was impossible.
Josef, how different is the car that you race on ovals compared to the cars that you race on a road course? How different are they? Are they completely different cars, or?
No, so the chassis typically the same. So each, I'll just say on Team Penske, we typically have 2 to 3 chassis per driver. Some of those we try and keep specific for the oval, just because we've sort of massaged the bodywork to be particular for an oval, and we don't want to beat it up on a road or street course, which is what can happen, especially a street course. A street course, you end up hitting the wall all the time, even when you're going fast, and so you end up bending the floor a little bit, or this or that. But all the chassis are interchangeable. All of the bodywork is modifiable for road and street course to an oval. It's really just the mechanical. The mechanical side changes quite a lot. We run the car asymmetric, so you try and favor the car, obviously for left-handers. It's such an art, though. I love oval racing. I didn't grow up with it. I didn't know anything about oval racing until I got to IndyCar. And now it's some of my favorite form of racing, because it's so challenging from an engineering standpoint to understand how to maximize the car in those conditions. And even the driving is very tactical. You have to be really smart on the way you utilize the tires and everything that you do. So it's impressive to drive, but probably the biggest difference that people see is we change the aerodynamics. So at Indy, you're trying to run the car as low as possible from a drag standpoint, much like running at Le Mans. Like Le Mans, you want to have the balance between straightaway performance and cornering ability. At Indy, it's all about straight line speed. So it just needs to get through the corner. And then on a road or street course, we try and have the most downforce possible efficiently, but the most downforce possible so that it's that it's quick through the corners.
What is the secret to winning the Indy 500 2 years in a row? You must feel quite at ease with the with the ovals now, I suppose, when doing that.
For someone that didn't grow up with oval racing, you've had quite a lot of success on oval circuits.
Well, it is surprising. Like I said, I did not grow up with oval racing, so I didn't know anything about it. but it became my favorite. It's become my favorite form of racing. I think even though I love everything that we do, I also like in IndyCar you have to be incredibly well-rounded. You have to win on a street course, a road course, and an oval. If you want to win the championship, you have to win on all three. But oval racing, it's all about the details, and it's about bravery too. You have to feel so confident. I think as a Casper, you'll understand this, but if you're not confident in the race car, you will not extract the speed. And at Indy, you have to have the most confidence of any track that you go to. You have to feel that if the car just starts to move a little bit, even before you can see it, that I'm going to catch it. And then I know exactly where it is. And if you can have that confidence on an oval, that's what really gives you, the ability to drive the car to limit higher than everybody else. And at Indy, you've got to be able to do that. You have to have this immense confidence so that you can put the car on the edge. Because at Indy, it's the opposite of a street circuit. When the car starts moving, you can't see it. So the driver is fighting things and conditions that are happening, and it's starting to oversteer. It's starting to slide on the driver, and he's correcting that before you even see it. So you have to be really, really good at understanding exactly where the car is, and when you can drive it in those conditions, and you're just that little quicker than everybody to react to everything, and you have that little more confidence, then I think that's what gives you a step up on the competition.
When you win at Indy, you get a pint of milk. How does the milk taste?
Picked up a 32.
Delicious. Honestly, it's amazing. I love milk. I drink a lot of milk, so I'm probably the perfect person to win the Indy 500. You'd be surprised. It's very cold, like extremely cold. They have it in this really nice. What is it? It's like a cooler. They have a cooler directly from the farm. They have the dairy farmer that
really
took the milk from his farm, and that's who hands you the milk. It's really cool. It's a very cool tradition. Yeah, I've been to the farm. I went to both farms for the for each Indy 500. So the dairy farmer that handed me the milk each year, I went to both of their farms in Indiana. I got to meet their families. That's not typical. I had a deal with the American Dairy Association of Indiana, so kind of random. But it was so special for me because I got to meet the families and I saw the farms where this milk came from each time. So it's like a really cool tradition for the Indy 500, and I got to see it from the very beginning.
Going into 2025, what are your dreams of achieving this year? I suppose you want to win the championship, but Daytona. Indy 500. What are your dreams going into this new season?
Well, I would love to. I think winning Indy 3 times in a row would be the ultimate dream. It's never happened. This is going to be the 109th running, so well over 100 years, which is it's already impressive. There's not many events around the world that are that old, and it's never been won 3 times in a row by a driver or a team. I think I could be wrong. No, it's been won 3 times by a team, but no driver has won it 3 times in a row. So to set history around Indianapolis, that would be very special.
We at this table have a lot of love for all kinds of racing, but mainly for Le Mans, which is where we've met each other and work at TV coverage. How Le Mans? Is that anything you would like to race someday? To see you at Le Mans sometime?
Oh, I would love to. I've heard about how impressive it is too. I've never been there, never seen it even as a fan, but I would love to go there. I was actually talking with my teammate Will Power. He really wants to race at Le Mans one day too, and try and win that race. I think it's very high on the list from my boss right now. Roger, he really. Obviously, Porsche sets the bar quite high.
Yep.
So their expectation is to go and to win, certainly this year. But yeah, I would love to be there one day. I don't know that I'll have the opportunity just yet. It's hard with the schedule. The schedule clashes with IndyCar and most things nowadays. But I think when my time starts to set in IndyCar, I want to go to Le Mans and at least experience it. If I could have an opportunity to race there, that would be great. And to win it would be obviously fantastic. It's one of the great achievements in motorsport. Very, very difficult to do.
The commercial, just wanted to step back to that. You got to share it with Tom Brady, which is a huge star all over the world, in Denmark as well.
Well, he was a co-star. Joseph was the main star.
Exactly. You were the prime figure in the...
It's a great point.
Just tell him that.
But how does it feel for you to be the poster boy and share a commercial with Tom Brady and Alex Palou talking about your book in the commercial as well?
Well, it was a surprise. I didn't know about it until, 24 hours before they aired the commercials when I saw it. And they didn't tell me he was going to be, in there with a cameo. So I saw it and I couldn't believe that they put him. I don't think they ever promised Tom. They don't. They write a script. I saw the script of this. Obviously, I filmed it, and he wasn't in it. And I don't think they ever promised Tom Brady because it's very difficult. It's obviously difficult to get him, to do anything, or not to do anything, but it's, his time is limited.
Exactly.
So they're not going to promise him. And so when I saw him in there, I thought, wow, this really legitimizes IndyCar racing. It's very, very cool to have him on board. I heard he might bring. I know he's going to come to Indy. I'm pretty sure he's gonna be there to watch the event. But he might field the car, is what I understand. So I hope he does. It would be pretty cool to see him there. He was obviously been involved at Le Mans too, which was really exciting because he was part of the Jota team, right? Wasn't he?
Yes. Yeah. Correct.
Yeah.
Well,
I think he's a motorsport fan.
Yeah, we just watched the commercial just before we started this podcast, and we looked at each other and said, if you don't want to watch IndyCar after watching this commercial, I don't know what, because it is a cool commercial. It's the pictures is great, and the humor in it is amazing. It really puts IndyCar where we actually think it should be. It's great racing. You said the cars are really, really raw and organic and to race. And I think it goes straight into the racing. The racing is really raw. That's what I like personally for the racing. Watching the IndyCar is just amazing, raw racing with pure overtaking, no DRS, just pure racing. And that's what I love about IndyCar.
Yeah, I completely agree. It reminds me of go-karting, exactly. and in a good way. When you're a young kid and you like racing and you go race a go-kart, and it's just pure and you're just having a great time and you're just battling and going as fast as you can in that cart. That's what it feels like when I show up to an IndyCar race. I mean, everybody is so competitive and you're just having a really great time. So I think that comes through when you watch too on the TV a lot of times.
Josef Newgarden, thank you so much for your time. We've already spent more than 20 minutes, which was what we agreed to. So thank you so much for taking the time. We really appreciate it. And we hope the best of you for you this year.
Yeah, we will definitely cheer for you as well. And definitely cheer for you and for a third IndyCar, Indy 500.
Definitely. And we'll expect to see you at Le Mans sometimes. That would be fantastic.
I would love that. Well, here's my deal. I'm gonna work on my Danish. And I promise you, the next time that I come on this show, I'm going to do this because this is going to hold me accountable. The next time I come on the show, I'm going to know a little bit of Danish so that we can at least have a conversation in Danish.
Fantastic.
Wow. Perfect. We love that.
That's a deal. Let's do that, Josef.
That is a deal, yes.
That's a deal. And just again, thank you for your time. Take it easy.
Thank you, guys. Take care. See ya.
Wow. Det
er helt vildt.
Jamen, hold op.
Ja, sidder en lille smule.
Sidder og snakker med Josef Newgarden, og det bedste af det hele slutter lige med at sige, næste gang jeg er med på jeres podcast.
Det kan vi lige overveje. Vi kan ikke love ham det.
Prøv at han er der for sig.
Kæft, cool, helt kort og godt for sig.
Ja. Det er jo bare en stjerne.
Kæmpe cool.
Iskold, bare stille og roligt, bare nede på jorden. Fantastisk fyr.
Det er den danskeren i ham, du.
Det er det ikke det?
Jo. Altså, hvis jeg var fan før, men nu er det...
Kæmpe fan.
Ja, vi skal have skrevet nogle fanbreve til ham.
Det bliver sådan rigtig irriterende.
Jeg skal bare have gjort mit færdigt. Det er...
det er du arbejdet på længe.
Det får lige et sprøjt med parfume og kysmål.
Og kysmål, ja. Ej, hvor han cool, mand. Og han bruger sin fritid i sin ferie med sin familie. Han har et tight program, kæmpe mange racerløb, og alligevel så siger han, en dansk podcast, det kan vi da godt lige være med på. Det er altså klasse.
Han er verdensklasse. Det er det sejeste, vi har lavet nu.
Ja, vi har haft mange stjerner egentlig med her.
Det er den mest overraskende, den her.
Ja, det er altså stort. Det er kæmpe stort.
Ja.
Jeg er sådan lidt i chok lige nu, at det lykkes. Men vi vidste godt, vi skulle lave det i dag.
Ja.
Jeg er ikke helt tur håbe på det.
Nej,
altså, han er også mere sej, end man havde håbet.
Ja. Og det er jo det. Ja. Det er jo det, fordi vi snakkede om på forhånd, og muligheden var der, og han kunne i dag, og vi kunne i dag, og det kunne helt kunne lade sig give sig. Fedt, lad os gøre det. Og lige så tænker man, det er stort. Når man så møder ham, og han er med, så har han bare så meget at byde på, som bare bonus, som slet ikke turde håbe på.
Nej, det er helt fantastisk. Ja, jeg er stadig sådan helt i chok. Jeg synes, det har været et kæmpestort at høre ham og omkring det. Altså, IndyCar er jo fantastisk. Vi har jo talt det op så mange gange i den her podcast før. Det er fantastisk, og jeg synes, den måde, som han beskriver det på, er spot on.
Ja. Og det, som man manglede egentlig at sige om det, det er jo, at der er mange forskellige discipliner i det.
Ja.
Der er en enorm forskel på at køre oval, og så køre en rigtig racerbane og køre gadebane. Ikke?
Det er jo sådan set, okay, NASCAR kører også nogle få løb på normale baner, men ellers så er det jo hovedsageligt ovale. Her der skal du nemlig kunne det hele, hvis du skal blive mester.
Men det er sjovt også, den der med, at han siger med ovalerne, ikke? Altså, at det er faktisk noget af det, der er sværest. Det er det, der ser mest simpelt ud. Ja. Og når man sidder og ser det, så tænker man, for helvede.
Og så kan det være, altså, bare køre til venstre.
Du kører bare og drejer til venstre, ikke? Ja. Men det er det, der er sværest. Det synes jeg er stil.
Det er en art form i sig selv. Ja. Det er ikke bare fordi du er god til at køre i en Formel 1-bil, betyder ikke, du er god til det der.
Hvornår er det, vi skal også ind i 500?
Det er, når det er kørt. Jeg tror kun, det kører ind i 500 en gang om året, ikke? Så
men derfor
skal vi derover. Skal vi tage afsted?
Jeg gad rigtig godt at se ind i 500.
Ja, det er altså nu har vi hans telefonnummer, man kan godt lige smide ham en tekst, ikke?
Jo, kan vi lige...
Ej, vi skal besøge ikke misbruge det telefonnummer.
Slap lidt af ude i din RV.
Ja, altså nej. Kæft, hvor han cool, mand.
Hvis din mor sidder derude, og hun trænger til at tale med nogle danskere under løbet.
Ja, i en eller anden lounge et sted.
Det kan vi godt komme og sørge for.
Ja.
Ja, Indy 500 må være.
Jeg kan godt køre lidt Lollands dialekt. Jeg kører Lollands dialekt.
Alle løb vil jeg gerne til. Altså, om det ovale, eller street races, eller racecourses.
Vi er nødt til at komme over og se noget Indy.
Der er så mange fede steder, de kører.
Indy, det er også lige noget for dig. Der er golfbane inde i midten.
Ja, det var perfekt.
Så kan Hammer og mig, vi kan gå i baren og drikke mælk.
Iskold mælk.
Direkte
fra konen. Christian og Christian, hvis de går og driller ham med, hans mor fra Lolland og sådan noget.
Jeg prøver at Christian Rasmussen er fra Amager.
Jo, men altså, det er jo sådan...
Jeg skal ikke drikke nogen fra Lolland, når man er fra Amager.
Jeg skulle jo bare have sagt til ham, at han skulle bruge den måde, Tom han fik mig ned på jorden igen, ikke? Ja, but I won.
Det var virkelig også til, at han heldigvis slog på racerbanen, og det er jo en glimrende taktik.
Ja.
Det virker bedre.
Jeg vil nok bare gøre begge ting. Men fair nok, han er lidt mere...
ydmyg, end du er. Ja. Nå, hold da op. Det var stort. Det får vi svært ved at toppe i det. Vi starter 2025 godt ud.
Det må man sige. Hold da op.
Jeg tror, at når vi når julefrokosten, og Lady Gaga kommer og synger i campingvognen, så når vi derop. Så er vi ved at være der.
Det er lige før den topper, ikke? Men ikke helt. Og inden der har vi måske haft ham på, hvor han lige taler lidt dansk også.
Ja,
ender vi med Birte Kjær, så kommer den også deroppe af.
Ja, vi må se, hvad vi får.
Kan vi få en duet? Lady Gaga og Birte Kjær. Et remix i en rød gummibåd.
Og melder byen rød og hele baduljen.
Now red rubber boat. Jeg tror, at vi har snakket nok, ikke?
Så er vi ved at nødt til at lukke af. Tak for denne gang.